Stop. You're destroying community property. That was the first thing I heard. Karen Mitchell's voice cutting through my backyard like a siren at dawn. I was just standing there, half knelt in the dewy grass, orange survey marker in hand, staring at her like she'd just accused me of robbing a bank. Two police cars screeched to a stop right there at my curb, lights still spinning. Over what? Little plastic steak? For a second, I thought maybe I was on some prank show, but the look on Karen's face told me she'd been dreaming of this moment for weeks. You ever get that feeling like the whole world's tilted, just a little off-center? That's how I felt, watching Karen emerge with this thick folder, manila, organized like a court exhibit, talking to those officers like she was some celebrity lawyer. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a misunderstanding. Karen was putting on a performance for anyone who cared to watch, and suddenly my little survey marker was the main character in her neighborhood drama. One of the cops, a weary guy with more gray hair than patience, walked up, barely glancing at me before saying, "Sir, we got a report of unauthorized property modification and vandalism." I swear, the way he looked at me, you'd think I'd taken a sledgehammer to her rose bushes. All I could do was hold up the stake and try to sound calm. "It's a legal survey marker," I said, voice trembling. "I'm just having my property line checked for insurance." I even showed them my email from the survey company, but Karen had already started waving her stack of evidence like she was presenting the case of the century. "Officer, as HOA president, I have a duty to protect our community's property values," she said, real slow, making sure everyone heard. She flipped open that folder, and I'm not kidding, it was color-coded with documents, maps, emails, even glossy photographs, all tabbed and labeled. If you've ever met someone who organizes their life with military precision, you know the type. She handed the officers something that looked straight out of a law firm. Official letterhead, notarized signatures, all the trimmings. HOA management strictly prohibits any surveying without written board approval. Mr. Thompson was notified. Never seen those documents in my life. But watching her, seeing the confidence in her eyes, the way the officers kept flipping pages, made me start doubting my own memory. Then came the photographs. Karen produced shots of me from across the street, measuring tape in hand, each one time-stamped, perfectly aligned. "I've monitored escalating violations for 3 days," she explained, like she was reading from a police report. Across the road, old Robert Williams stood on his porch, arms folded, watching like he'd seen this movie before. I caught him glancing at Karen's yard, then back at mine, lips pressed together. Karen pointed out a highlighted map, shining a laser on the spot where my marker stood. "This is 4 feet into our water easement. Without oversight, it's a liability." The officer went over to check, squinting at the stake, but Karen didn't miss a beat. "We conducted a boundary assessment last month," she said, rattling off HOA policy numbers like a lawyer on TV. Every question, she had an answer. Certified mail receipts? Check. Email records? Check. All new to me. Meanwhile, I stood there feeling like a criminal, the cop politely but firmly asking me to remove the marker until proper administrative review. I wanted to fight back, wanted to yell that this was my yar, my right, but what do you say when all the proof is stacked against you and half the neighborhood's watching? Karen closed her folder with a snap and thanked the officers, her voice dripping with victory. Robert caught my eye as the cops pulled away, his face a mix of sympathy and something darker, like he knew this wasn't the first time Karen had pulled a stunt like this. And right there, holding the stake I wasn't allowed to use, it hit me. Why was she so prepared? What was she so desperate to keep me from discovering? Next morning, I wake up to a neighborhood-wide email from Karen, subject line, "Incident report, unauthorized surveying activity." She recounted the whole thing, twisting the facts, claiming I'd been warned, calling my little marker a safety threat. She attached photos, reference numbers, even what looked like legal opinions, painting me as public enemy one. Comments started flooding our private social group. "Karen's right. Property values matter. Unauthorized activities threaten us all." Funny thing, everyone seemed to use the same words, almost like they were reading off the same script. Tried explaining myself in the group. Radio silence, except for a couple folks suggesting maybe I should just follow the rules. Even a mail carrier started avoiding eye contact. I called the supposed Sunset Valley HOA management Karen kept referencing, but the number went to a generic voicemail. The website looked like it was made yesterday. No real address, no staff. Check business records. Nothing. The company didn't exist. I started feeling like the only sane person in a town full of extras hired for a bad movie. That night, Robert knocked on my door, quiet, serious. He'd kept notes on neighborhood goings-on for years, just out of habit. Karen started mentioning survey issues a week before you even ordered yours, he told me, flipping through his logbook. He'd seen her taking pictures all over, not just my property. She's prepping for something big, he said, eyes narrow. Suddenly, her over-the-top documentation made sense. She planned this from the start. I dug through the real HOA rules, the original deed. Nothing about survey markers, nothing about board approval. Karen had just made it up, counted on nobody checking. But her story was spreading, neighbors getting icy, like I'd threatened their pets. Karen had weaponized the fear of lost property value, and folks bought it. But I couldn't let it go. I started picking apart her evidence, calling every number, visiting addresses on her official-looking letters. The HOA office was a dusty, empty store in a strip mall. One number went to a pizza place. The more I dug, the clearer it got. Karen had built a whole fake universe, forged documents, created fake support online. Half the comments backing her in the group? Brand new accounts, all using the same phrases, same punctuation. I mapped it out. 28 of 47 comments followed the same 5 patterns. If that ain't fishy, I don't know what is. Tried showing the evidence to neighbors. Some shrugged. Management companies change names all the time. Others told me to just work with Karen. It was like yelling into a void. But Robert, he was all in. She's faking legal expertise, he said, but her mistakes are obvious to anyone who knows this stuff. Robert was a retired county surveyor. Turns out he'd worked on our subdivision back in '78. He knew every easement, every line. That's when the Real bomb dropped. Karen's garden fence, Robert said, laying out old maps and photos, is blocking the city's emergency access to the water main. Her decorative rocks? Sitting right on a public utility corridor. If a pipe burst, city crews couldn't get through. Suddenly, all her drama made sense. She'd spent months forging documents, gaslighting the neighborhood, just to keep anyone from noticing her own illegal encroachment. We took the evidence to the city. Within 48 hours, inspectors slapped violation notices on Karen's property. Fines stacked up, and the city attorney opened a criminal case. Even then, Karen tried to rally the troops, called an emergency HOA meeting, tried to drown us in more fake paperwork. Even brought her brother dressed up like a legal consultant to give a professional opinion. But when the county surveyor, the city inspector, and the municipal attorney all stood up and called out her fraud in front of a packed house, there was no coming back. Karen slipped up, too. She blurted out she'd built her fence in 2018, when all her documents said 2015. Robert had photos showing no fence in 15, just a marked corridor. Residents started to murmur, then shout. You lied about him. How many more fake rules did you make up? The meeting dissolved into chaos. Neighbors demanding audits. Board members quitting on the spot. Over the next week, everything unraveled. City crews tore out Karen's illegal fence, restoring utility access. Federal prosecutors filed mail fraud charges. The HOA board suspended her, then removed her entirely. Neighbors who'd avoided me started stopping by, apologizing, thanking me for sticking it out. It didn't end with Karen. The HOA instituted new policies, independent verification of all regulatory claims, more transparency, less blind trust. Robert got appointed as the community's technical watchdog. And that little orange stake? It stands there now, right where I put it, a marker not just of my property, but of the line between fact and fiction, between standing up and rolling over. Funny thing, looking back, none of this would have happened if I'd just caved in. But sometimes it takes a stubborn neighbor, a plastic stake, and a whole lot of digging to reveal the truth hiding in plain sight. Maybe next time you hear someone preaching about community standards, you'll think twice before jumping on a bandwagon. So, what would you have done if you were in my shoes? Would you have kept pushing or let slide? I want to hear your stories. Have you ever faced off with an HOA, a bossy neighbor, or just plain old injustice? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about what real community, real justice ought to look like.